That's the first point I want you to note. You will be restricted. In other words, without communication, you will remain under a limitation. Note that. Without communication, you will remain under what? A limitation. In whatever you do, even in church here, how will we know that you have something to contribute? Is it not when you communicate? So after this, I expect some of you, those of you who have been shying away, anytime you're called to do something in church, you manufacture an excuse. How many of you know that some of those excuses you manufacture is actually lying? Do you know it's lying? You manufacture. That has to stop. You must step up. So without communication, there will be a what? Limitation to how far you can go. So I use the story of this young lady to make this point, and so let me define communication for you. Communication is information transportation with a mission. Communication is what? Information transformation, transportation, I beg your pardon. Information transportation with a mission. Fabi, did you get the visuals I sent to you? See if they could project it. Communication is the transportation of information, but with a mission. So it's not just when you say something. It doesn't guarantee that you have communicated. You can say something and you are heard. But it does not mean that the person that has heard you has understood what you are saying. That's why it's very important to draw that line. That every time we communicate, we are essentially transporting information, but it doesn't end there. But we are transporting that information with a mission, and that is where purpose comes into the picture. So whether you are speaking, which is one leg, or you are actually writing, that is the definition of communication. So let's expand it further. Transportation of information with a mission. Let me see now. I need 1 or 2 volunteers. Please, sir, come. Do you have an extra microphone? What's your name?
Abraham.
Abraham, what do you do? Are you a student? Are you working?
Worker.
You're a worker. So what do you do for a living? A financial advisory consultant. Now, listen to that title. How many of you fully understand financial advisory consultant? Be honest. Financial advisory consultant. Now that's fine, it's a title. But what if he said, I work in finance? Which would be easier to understand? Which would be easier to understand? The first one or the second one? Let's have a conversation. The first one, financial advisory consultant, versus I work in finance. Which is simpler? Pardon? Which is simpler? That is the point that we're making. First and foremost, you keep things what? Simple. You keep things what? Simple. Why? Because we said communication is what? Information transportation with what? A mission. And what is that mission? Absolutely. So fine. You can say the second one appears a lot more understandable, but the first objective is simplicity. Why? Because communication is a relationship, and that's where emotional intelligence has to what? Come in. And what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is simply good judgment in terms of how you relate with other people. That's what emotional intelligence means. So the question then becomes, which of the definitions is much more emotionally intelligent? Because emotional intelligence is saying that it is not just about you, the person speaking, but it is about what? The successful transportation of what you are saying for the benefit of those who are consuming. Just think about it. If the manufacturers of, say, noodles, let me not mention the brand, manufacture the noodles based on their own reasoning, how many of us would buy from them? What do they do first? They take into account all the little children. And that informs their approach in manufacturing and in advertising it. The person that pays for the noodles is different from the group that consumes it. Notice that. Because they understand the goal. First and foremost, simplify, simplify, simplify. It's very important. So, we're looking at context here. Stay with me. You're going to work with me for some time. Is the visual up? Are we able to get it up? Just for the definition. I want to illustrate. But if it's not, we can continue whenever it comes up. So I've said that communication is information transformation with a mission. Now, we asked you as a church to go to parish B. There was an incident there last week. Let's say some people, some neighbors within the vicinity went to the church and created some problems. And then we said, as a sister parish, please go and find out what happened. And you've gone and you've returned to come and tell us. So what will be your approach with regards to telling us what happened? Take the mic. Take the mic. What will be your approach? What is your objective? Give it a trial. Give it a try.
Pastor or
to the entire church, because you were sent by the church. Please go and check out what happened. We hear that there were attacks. We hear that there was destruction. We hear that all kinds of things happened. There's disorder. Please go and find out. And now you are back.
Morning, church. I was sent on an assignment.
Has he ever been brought out to... Okay, so he's used to this, so go ahead.
So I was sent on an assignment to go and find out what happened at our sister parish, Parish B, Youth Province 8. And I went there, and this is what I saw. What I saw was... Can I make up...
Yes, but just give us a sense. What would be your approach in terms of what you tell us?
This is what I saw. This is currently what is on ground, what is happening, the current situation at the church. I also did some investigation to find out why this situation was happening, and also what the church is doing about it to resolve it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, I've asked that question because I want to take us to that next phase, which is the mission bit. Because we must understand, we've said that communication is information transportation. There's a twist to it. It's with a mission. We've asked him, go and find out. So he has come back to talk to us. Now, it is the mission that will qualify what he says to us. He has gathered information. Now he's about to transport that information. If he transports it outside of the mission, it will be a problem. So, in speaking, because I'm referencing speaking now, in speaking, it must be with a purpose. So in your case, we sent you out to find out. And so when you came back, we expected you mission-wise. You already have the information. You can use the information whichever way you want to. We expect you to mission-wise simply. Can you see what I've just put there? Inform. In that case, you are speaking to what? Inform. But we could ask Febishola and say we are having a program for all the teenage girls in church who are about to go into the university. Please come. You went through the same path. Come and speak to them. In that case, what would the mission be? What would the mission be? To inspire them. Thank you very much. Why? Because, can you see how mission is morphing? It's still information transportation that is taking place. But with a mission, always keep that in mind. In the case of Febishola, she's what? Inspiring them. But it would have been a mistake for you to come back from that site and start trying to sound like a motivational speaker. I went there, in fact, we really need to go and take charge and all that. Then you have missed your mission. And the same way would be a mistake for Fabi to come and start regaling those young girls with stories. Remember when I was in school and just start telling stories that are just driven from an informative standpoint. She has to go. You are at a critical juncture in your life. This is the time to think this way. She has to mold that information in such a way as to accomplish this purpose/mission. This is where most people miss it when it comes to communication. Because they end up saying, after all, I said it now, I spoke, I made my point. You must constantly be conscious of it. What is my mission? Right now, as you know, I'm transporting information to everybody here. That's what I'm doing. Information transportation is taking place. What do you think is the mission of my current transportation of information to you? That's why I'm not rushing. If at the end of the day it is only 1 or 2 points that I make with the thoroughness, then I've done my work as an educator. Not necessarily coming to bombard you with quantity, so many things within the time allotted. So you must always ask yourself, what is my mission? What is the mission for the given exercise of communication? So let's call someone else out. I should have called Febishola out. I didn't call out. Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, nominate.
Mr. Ochua.
Okay, who is Sister Ochua? Okay, thank you very much. So she can replace you. Okay, she can replace you. Thank you very much. That was a very smart one. So, Sister Ochua, come forward. Tell us about yourself. What do you do for a living? You work? Are you a student? What are you doing presently?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Ochua Sedembright. I am an occupational therapist. I'm an occupational therapist.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So let's say, do you work in an organization? or you run your own venture? Okay, so as an occupational therapist, let's say we invite MTN and we have their staff and our company. What's the name of our company? Okay, let's say our company XY Limited. We've been pursuing MTN for the past 5 years. And finally, we have an opportunity to speak to them because we want to have some form of partnership. And we ask you to make the presentation. What do you think the mission will be? Yes, to convince. Yes, that's essential. In communications parlance, our goal will be what? Persuade. But it's still the same thing. That's communication. She's made the point in very simple terms to convince them. We want to convince you so that you can do business with us. Now, if she comes and makes the mistake that most people make, again, mission is very important, of trying to shine and showcase that she has the knowledge as occupational therapist, what will likely be lost? The mission. She may come out as being, oh, that lady Ochoa, she's so good. She's good. She's this and that. But at the end of the day, MTN will pack their baggage, and do what? And go. And go with the business. So here, to convince, you are actually selling. The mission is to sell. Some of you are wondering, why am I not doing well? It's because you have been missing the mission. I'm in real estate, but it's like I'm not doing so well because you end up talking more about the property, about the location, and you miss the point to persuade. What is the value within those contexts that you can use to move the needle and say it's worth 500 million naira, and if you pay in 2 weeks, you can get a 10% discount. Now you're selling. Thank you very much, Ochoa. Thank you very much. Please give them the mic. When I need a nominee, we'll have one. This is a foundation. If you can understand this to serve you both in speaking as well as in writing, so that you're not just punching, as Paul the Apostle would say, as if you're punching the air, but every punch has its intent. My coming here to speak to you is not to showcase my knowledge or no, it's to shape your outlook on how you understand communication. That's my mission. And so my approach will not be rushed. So what have we said so far? Let me see if I have very good students in this class. Because you're going to write an exam. Yes, please. I want to ask a question. Okay, let's take the question, then we'll quickly recap. Please, okay, use the mic.
That there's no way you can actually persuade without some form of information. I want to intertwine. I'm still trying to, draw out the difference. Because as you are selling your product, you must first of all tell the person what that product is all about before you now persuade the person to sell. So I don't know if
I agree with you. You've observed excellently well. The challenge with the point is knowing what is the mission. The mission is to especially yourself. But if you allow yourself to get carried away, that's when it becomes a problem. Then communication will be assumed to have taken place, but within that context, it hasn't. That's why I'm using the word mission. And yes, you're right, it is possible to have more than one element, but the skewing of the exercise itself is down to the mission. But then, for the first example that we use, the objective was to inform. So it does not require more than stating the facts, stating the details, and presenting an account of what was seen. In other areas, it is very possible that you may need to do that. But keep in mind, it is very possible that the audience may already be aware of what you're dealing with. You don't need to spend that time trying to inform them again. So if you're talking to lawyers about legal issues, there's a certain level of knowledge that they have. I'm just giving that as an example. You don't need to spend time trying to be informative if you have ascertained that these people already know why we're here, already know what it is we're dealing with. That's why at times you find some of your offices, you start to talk, you're trying to be informative, you have your bosses telling you, my friend, do what? Go straight to the point. It's because the expectation of the audience is about a mission. Always remember that qualifier. Having said that, I hope that answers your question. Okay, having said that, let's look quickly at the elements within the context of communication. We've looked at the definition, so let's look at what are the elements. That every time we do this, it guides us. Let's look at elements. First, we have a message, which is what we are transporting. In literal transportation sense, we'll be talking about cargo or consignment. And you know, when you're transporting something from one location to the other, you do everything to protect the cargo. Isn't that what you do? In fact, you go to the extent of from packaging it, repackaging it. Sometimes you're transporting by road from Lagos to, say, Abuja. You go there to the transportation company. Please, handle it carefully. Don't put it, it's fragile, exactly. We do all sorts of things just to protect it. In fact, in some instances, we go as far as ensuring the consignment. Because that is the most important commodity in all of this relationship. Because it's a relationship. This transaction. So element number one is your message. It must be tailored so you can see the entire context of being emotionally intelligent, which is the wisdom to manage and navigate your interaction, especially communication-wise, against the backdrop of an audience or an interpersonal space, because it's no longer just about you. This is where a lot of speakers, a lot of writers show lack of emotional intelligence. They make it always about themselves, as if to show that I want to let them know that I am loaded. I want to let them know that I have all the information. I want to show them. No. It's not about you. It's first and foremost about the message. It's the most precious cargo as far as this transaction is concerned. And so the effort that you put into getting the message right, and please note, I am not talking content here, communication-wise. There's a difference. Please note, there's a difference between content and message, even though we now live in the era of content creation. What is content creation? It's me waking up this morning. They had set an alarm. In fact, I'm not sure I even slept, because I tried going to bed at about 1 a.m. I had to set an alarm for 5, but I knew I was awake all through. I couldn't sleep, because typically I work so late. And then I wake up and the alarm goes off And then with the alarm going off in today's world, I just switch on my Instagram and start saying, oh, if not for the fact that Femishola is my friend, I don't think I'll be doing this. This morning is Sunday morning. And then I've got to go out and do this and all of that at the church and all that. So follow me and all that. If I posted that on my Instagram page, how many views do you think I would have gotten by now between 5 a.m. and talk to me? You get where I'm going to? That's content. We live in the era of content creation. But when it comes to communication, it's not about content, it's about message. There are two different things. You can use your content to showcase that you have so much to say and display. But what will matter eventually will be what the audience, the listeners, the readers get from it. If you fail that test, you have not communicated. You may have spoken, but you've not communicated. You may have written, but you've not communicated. Am I communicating? That was very intentional. And a lot of speakers tend to do that. I'll urge you, if you speak and you're used to doing that, stop it. Don't worry, just communicate. If you are communicating, the audience will get you. You don't need to ask them. You see people in the audience nodding, non-verbal cues, and that will nudge you on. Because if every time, are you getting me, am I communicating, you trivialize yourself. So if you're fond of doing that, this is one technique I want you to note, and it's a behavior I want you to stop. Be very professional, be very confident, show composure, show poise, show class when you communicate. Element number one is the message. Element number two is the communicator. Communicator could be a speaker. Of course, you notice there's quite some significant emphasis on speaking. It could be the writer. So if we ask you the difference between content and message, you can explain that. Because there's content everywhere. As ridiculous as it seems, I had to get on TikTok I think 3 weeks ago. I created a TikTok account. And I'd barely posted anything. Within 2 days, I had, 26 followers. I said, what are they following? So that had to force me to post a flyer of the club, of the eloquence story. Just post something. That's how crazy it gets. But we must understand, for discipline purposes, a message is different from just content. In fact, content is your raw material that you refine intentionally to evolve a clear message. So we have the communicator. I beg your pardon, it's supposed to be communicator, speaker, writer. Then, of course, you have your audience. Your communicator is also the sender. Your audience is the receiver. But you see, most people operate only within these three, or operate with these three elements. But I have something to say. There are people to listen to me, and then I say it. But it's not complete without element number 4, an outcome. Can you see an outcome? And in communications parlance, we call this feedback. But just keep us working with a simplified model. Outcome is usually my preference. Why? The outcome is what is reflected in what? In the mission. The outcome will tell you whether it was mission accomplished or not. So we asked Fabi to speak to the young girls in church, and immediately she finished, you heard girls saying, thank you very much, ma. What you said has changed my life. Is it accomplishing its mission? Because the goal was to what? Inspire. We ask Ochoa, right? To talk to the MTN managers that came. And then 2 hours later, she gets a phone call. I think we can do business together. What does that say? Mission what? Accomplished. Persuasion has taken place. We're selling here. We asked our brother here to give us a report. He finishes. And the church assembly says, okay, now we see what has happened. We now know what went wrong. The board of deacons will take it from here. What has happened? Mission accomplished. That's what we're saying. That's why element number 4 is so important. Don't get too carried away by, okay, I have my message, I have my points. That's the way we put them. I know how to put it across. And there are people listening. But is there an outcome? Show me your results. Then I will agree with you that you have communicated. Communication without results is failure. Let me put it directly. Without results is failure. So, let it not just be that you were there, you said something, but let it be that what you said was mission critical. You don't just say something for the sake of saying something. You don't just say something because you have something to say. You say something to create an outcome that is value-centric. So as a teacher that I am, let me ask us, so far, what have we talked about? My students, this is a classroom. And we are skilling up. Did you get the visual up? Were we able to get the visual? Okay, we did. You can just project. Okay. Is it visible enough? Sorry, I should have done it landscape. I apologize. So we can see the definition that communication is information transportation with a mission. And we see that vehicle. Just like an SUV or a sedan. They're all vehicles, aren't they? But what separates them? What separates them? Pardon? Our word. The word that we're using in class. What separates them? The mission. Can you imagine me coming to church today inside this? That, as in, you watch this vehicle get to the gate, parks. What will first come to your mind? I haven't disembarked from it. And they just park. What will come to your mind first? Okay, you will think of, okay, there's a massive vehicle here. What are they delivering? And then the door opens. And they deliver me. You'll be surprised because in terms of purpose, there's a misalignment. That's how we must understand communication. So we must keep that in mind. Let's go to the next visual. There's a visual of transporting a cruise missile. Do you have it? I want to use it to... Okay, now go to the first one, the one with the truck. The one with the truck. Okay, good. So now that's a ballistic missile, but it's on a truck. It's being transported. Where do you think they are transporting it to? No. It's being transported for storage. But it's a ballistic missile. It's being transported with a truck for storage. Now let's still see the same ballistic missile. Go to the aircraft bit. It's still the same ballistic missile. But it's being transported for what? For carnage, for destruction. That's what missiles do. Can you see the same information, but different what? Sure. That's it. So you can have a particular message, a particular signature message you write about, you speak to. But the audience and the objective can be so different, and you must make that adjustment. And that's the key issue in communication, and that is where most people get it wrong. The mission side that a lot of people fail in, because they see communication from such a limited standpoint of being able to just say it, or being able to just write it or put it out there, not understanding that there is purpose to it. It's called purpose-driven communication. Let me borrow from Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Church. Here, what we are looking at is purpose-driven communication. Please note that in everything you do. I want to share a case study with you. Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 3. How many of you know where I'm going to? How many of you can guess where I'm going to? Moses, right? Because everything we teach, and this is a very important skill, your ability to communicate. It is a skill that you must continue to work on. When you get home, create time to practice on your own. How to stand in front of people to speak. It is a skill. When you get home, go online and find some materials that can help you with regards to your writing. You must keep a lot of tools on your mobile device. The dictionary must be there to enable you to construct sentences. For business, for personal purposes, these are all various kinds of missions. Please let me know how many minutes do I have left. Who's keeping my time? Okay, that's it. I have 10 more minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's enough for us to talk about Moses. I think that's Genesis chapter 3, verse 10. I hope I'm correct. Pardon? Sorry, Exodus, I beg your pardon. Exodus 3, verse 10. Please, can someone read for us? Oh, can you all hear him? Okay. Project.
Pharaoh, to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt.
Yeah, go on, continue.
Verse 11. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. And this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your father has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. I am who I am. Then that is what you are going to say to the Israelites. I am has sent you.
Okay. Please, thank you very much. No, we still have more to read. Read on. I want to get to the point where he argues with God.
Verse 15. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord your God, the Lord, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. Go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised to bring you up out of your misery in Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites.
I want the point where he says to God, but God, I cannot speak, I'm a stammerer. He has given us a good background. Please, who knows, please, can you check and get to that point? That should be chapter 4, I think. Still that same chapter 3? All right, where are my good Bible students here? What verse is that? Let's quickly get there. When Moses says, I am a stammerer, I cannot speak, and God chides him that who made man's mouth. Bible students, what's going on? I said chapter 4. Yes, read it. If you're there. Please read out. Okay.
And of his slow tongue.
Okay. So, and Moses said unto the Lord, Oh my Lord, I am not what? Eloquent. And I am slow of what? Let me just tell you this quickly so I can take at least one question. Here was God with a mission and a message, but we had a problem with who this time? With what element did we have a problem with? The sender, the communicator. Message was clear. Audience, clear. I'm sending you to who? To the children of Israelites and also to Pharaoh. What became the problem? How many of you are currently struggling like Moses? You know yourself. You're having your own Mosaic moment. But the point in all of this is that you can see that three things that we all battle with. First is self-doubt. Moses battled with it by asking the question, what? Who am I? There are many of you here, you have the education, you have the exposure, you have so many things working to your advantage. But you're still looking at yourself, I'm not fit, I'm not worthy. Who am I? Self-doubt. You're not alone. People have gone through that. But you can overcome it. The next thing he says that they will not believe. Yes, I know, I have a good product, but those people, they will not even buy into it. We shoot ourselves in the foot. And when God disarms him of that, he goes to the final one. Blames the capability. But I am not eloquent. But that wasn't totally true. Because Moses had the equivalent of a Harvard education. I'm sure you know that. Trained in it. So many of you have these capabilities, but what is keeping you is fear. Fear. And because of this, God had to create a workaround solution by bringing who into the picture? Aaron. Aaron was a workaround. It was not the original intent. In other words, I'm leaving this with you before I take this question. Understand that nobody will do your speaking or your writing for you. You must have to do it yourself. The world wants to hear from the horse's mouth. So I'll take just one question because of my time. Any questions, please? Okay, sir.
Well done, sir. Yeah, to your word and to what you gave us, I guess where you move, we look at it as channels of communication. And within the channel of communication, you didn't make reference to the aspect of process. That is processing of the message. You didn't make reference to it. Please, can you?
Okay, so you want to talk about processing of the message. We already have all the four elements. The communicator is there, which is the sender. The audience is there, which is the receiver. You already have your message, and then you already have the qualification, which is the mission, the context. Now, the processing is a function of one, you as the communicator, speaking based in line with your mission. For instance, because my goal here this morning was to just teach, was to educate. I don't have any worries about whether you can or will process the information that I'm transporting to you. Why? Because the mission has informed my approach. So processing is usually internal, of the audience, but for it to be guaranteed to deliver the outcome, the speaker, the communicator, must speak and operate from the standpoint of a clear mission. I hope you get the point I'm making. I don't have to worry about my audience. I know what my message is. And I know what my mission is. My mission was not to come and sound motivational. Otherwise, I would have been jumping all over the place. You have what it takes to communicate. No barriers can stop you from... That's what I would have been doing. But that would have been counterproductive to this content. That's why I had to break it down, show you the elements, explain some of the issues, and then, of course, define the major qualification marker. So process should not be a problem. Never worry about how your audience will process the information, provided you get your mission right and you get your message right as the person sending that message. It will take care of itself. So seek ye first the kingdom of a clear message driven by a mission. And every other thing shall be taken care of. Okay, do we still have time? I see one or two more hands. Okay, so.
Praise the Lord. Okay, so I want to, how do you deal with, there are some, let me say Gen Zs. They are eloquent in speaking, but they are not communicating in terms of bringing value. So I want to employ somebody and come with Queen's
Can talk fast and all
talk,
that.
and then you put all right, yeah.
Use the mannerisms, the gestures, and all that.
I'm not asking you to do the work, assuming I'm carried away with that your composure and your eloquence, and then maybe your sense of dressing. So now I'm taking you to a meeting, and I'm asking you to now give me value. I'm not getting it. How do we deal with such a situation? Because, of course, I can't sack you because it's a government organization. But putting you aside will not help you. Do you understand? How do I deal with
So you must train that person. Because communication is a skill. What we've done within 1 hour is to give you a taster, is to orient you towards it. It is a skill that has to be learned. Great speakers are made and not born. Good speakers, good communicators have to be made. It is a skill that you develop, you learn it. There's nothing nature about communication. Everything communication is nurture. So the solution, the quick sense to the problem you have is you have to make out time to teach them. They learn it as a skill. That's why you have seminars, you have schools that teach how to communicate. I've taught communication now for 25 years. And every single day, I discover that people have to learn. So this is just to awaken you to that. That is how you deal with it. Because those manifestations that you saw shows that they have some of the elements, but not all of it. In communication, you need everything to be in place. That's what needs to happen. Time is not our friend. Thank you very much. I guess this is where we call it quits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him right now. Thank you very, very much. All right, this is the first session we've had, effective communication. I'm sure we've taken something, right? Praise the Lord. All right, we'll continue next Sunday for time. It's not on our side. So we'll immediately start our Sunday school. Please clap again for Mr. Ubon. Thank you very much, sir.